What is going on, y'all? Xavier here, and today I'm back with another Make Academy lesson. If you're just joining us, I'm documenting my journey from complete beginner to running my own AI business. I'm following a 3-phase plan to get me there, but it all starts with mastering workflow automation. That's why we're speeding through these lessons. We just started the intermediate section where we learned how to import JSON into our scenarios. Today we're going to be covering Unit 2 in this course. We're learning about how to iterate arrays into bundles. I'm still working on the video that'll explain the pivot in our business plan, but don't worry, it's still coming and it'll have some fun things for us to look forward to. But without further ado, let's get into today's lesson. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in our course, Introduction to Iterators and Array Aggregators. Unit 2, which is iterating an array into bundles. Last video, we covered Unit 1. It was pretty good stuff that we covered. I think it was a big leap into what we can actually accomplish with this website, and it's showing just how powerful these kind of tools are, right? And this is just still barely scratching the surface of the knowledge and the tools that are available to us. So these courses and this academy is just kind of a placeholder for information, just so we're not becoming lazy and forgetting knowledge, or just a way for us to move the piece forward in our journey of creating our own business, right? So with that being said, let's jump into this Unit 2. I'm gonna read this introduction. You are now at the second unit of the Introduction to Iterators and Array Aggregators course within the Make Intermediate learning path. In the previous unit, you learned about how to parse JSON in a scenario. In this unit, you will build on your knowledge, learn how to work with iterators and why they are useful. You will also build a scenario where you will iterate a set of data from the JSON module. I'm gonna click next. Introducing iterators. You might remember briefly covering iterators in the Make Foundation level in the unit about the different types of modules. The time has come now to go into more details about iterators. All right, so we have 4 tabs here. First one is iterators in Make. An iterator is a special type of module in Make that allows you to split an array into multiple smaller bundles. Iterators work only with arrays. An iterator will extract an array, a list or a group of items, and split it up into a series of bundles. Each array item will output as a separate bundle. For example, if you receive an email containing several attachments, an array, you can use an iterator to separate each attachment into individual items, separate bundles. This enables you to handle each attachment separately. Okay, yeah, so aggregators bring things together and iterators separate them. Then we have specialized iterators. Many Make apps have specialized iterator modules with a simplified setup. For example, the Gmail app contains the special iterator module called Iterate Attachments that will produce the same result as the general iterator without you having to specify the array to iterate. In this case, it is enough to just specify the source module. You can of course use the normal iterator module instead, but it's good to know that these exist too. Cool, so some apps have their own iterators inside them. Then we have a real-life example. To give you a real-life example of how an iterator works, imagine you place a food order to a restaurant with a group of friends. The order is packed in a single bag. Think of this as one array which contains a list of all the ordered dishes. Once the order arrives, you are then handing each person's order to them, creating individual bundles. This is what the iterator achieves. It splits a list, array, into separate bundles. And then we have why are iterators useful? An iterator converts each array of items into individual separate bundles. This way, you can process each element in the array separately and exactly as you need. Unless you use an iterator, Make only processes the first item in an array. The iterator lets you transform your data by taking arrays apart, which then enables you to access each item in the array separately. All right, so basically iterators make it so your array, which is a group of different items, can be manipulated individually. Pretty simple enough. Let's click next. Getting ready. Now you know what an iterator is and what it does. Great progress. You have to go through a couple of steps more before you start building your scenario with the iterator. Okay, so we got 3 slides here. In this unit, you will continue your learning journey by building on your previous knowledge of the parse JSON. You will use the iterator to iterate a set of data and output this into a Google Sheet. Before you start building the scenario, let's set up the Google spreadsheet. All right, so I have my Google spreadsheet up there already. So let's see what we're gonna do in this sheet. Next slide. To give you some context, imagine you were planning a party and need to get some information from your guests about their food restrictions and music they like. Navigate to your Google Drive and create a new Google Sheet called Make Intermediate 1-2. Name the sheet Party Planner. All right, so we're going to create a new Google Sheet and just name the sheet as well as the tab at the bottom to Party Planner. So let's do that real quick. New blank spreadsheet. Top title is just going to be Intermediate 1-2, like that. And then down here at the bottom left, we're gonna name this sheet Party Planner. Just like that. And we can see what we gotta do next. I'm gonna click this next slide. In your Party Planner sheet, set the following headings. In A, we're gonna put name. In B, dietary restrictions. And in C, preferred music. So let's add these 3 headers really quickly. We got name, dietary restriction, and preferred music. Just like that. The spreadsheet is ready, and that's it for now. You'll see why it was necessary to do this in the next step. All right, so we're gonna go to the next page. Building a scenario. Now you are ready, and you can start building the scenario. So we got 7 slides. Let's see what they're talking about. Imagine you are planning a party. You want to create a scenario that will summarize the information of your guests, their dietary restrictions, and music preference in a spreadsheet. Your scenario will use the JSON module set up in the Make Intermediate 1-1 scenario. You will then use the iterator to iterate each guest's set of data and output this into a Google Sheet. You will need the JSON module set up in the previous unit. All right, so we're gonna use that same JSON that we did last video. I'm gonna click next slide. Click Create a New Scenario. Start by copying the parse JSON module from your Make Intermediate 1-1 scenario. An alternative way to do this is to add the JSON module to your scenario and click here to copy the JSON and paste it into JSON string field. Then click OK to save your module mapping. If you click the JSON image here, you will see how it looks if you used the JSON from the template. If you copy and paste the JSON data, it will be formatted differently. JSON is your source module that contains an array with 3 objects, 3 guests, each with 3 properties: name, dietary, and music preference of the guest inside it. All right, so we're using the same parse JSON as we did in the last scenario, in the last unit that we did last video. So I'm just gonna click here to copy it, and I'm just gonna paste this copied JSON into the JSON string of a new scenario. It didn't tell us to name it, but I'll just name it 1-2, and yeah, so far we're just putting that JSON with the string inside. All right, so let's go and create our new scenario. Add our parse JSON. In this JSON string, I'm just gonna paste, and now we have the same string from before. If we right click and run this module only, you'll see our output is the same. We have our bundle with all guests in an array and 3 collections with the 3 criteria. So looks good. I will save this, rename it to that, and save at the bottom, and click save anyways. Back to our course, and next slide. If you click run this module only, you will see 1 bundle in your output, which is a collection containing an array. The array contains 3 collections, 1 for each guest. The iterator is very useful in this case because 1 array may contain many bundles, and you might not know in advance how many bundles there are going to be in your array. The iterator splits the array and creates a separate bundle for each collection, so you can process them separately. Note that arrays can actually have 0 items. It's good to check if this is the case before trying to get a value from your array, as it can be a common misconception. We're trying to split this up. They keep kind of repeating themselves a little bit, but yeah, we're trying to split this array into separate bundles, which it's already in separate collections, but it's in 1 bundle. I know that's a little confusing, but it's okay. We got this. I'm gonna click next slide. The next step is to add the iterator module. The iterator will split the array from your source module into 3 separate bundles, so you can work with them further. Click Add Another Module and search for Flow Control and Iterator. You can also find it on your Scenario Editor toolbar under Tools, Flow Control, and Iterator. Add the Iterator module to your scenario. It expects an array as input, as you can see. So we're adding our Iterator module. That's the only thing we're doing in this slide. So I'm gonna see what the next slide says so that we can have, like 2 things that we do and we don't have to go back and forth. So I'm just gonna click next slide. Map all guests from the JSON module. In this case, there is just one item to select, but if you have a list of items such as here, you can recognize the array by the square brackets. Yeah, so this just shows that the array that we're trying to add is all guests, and you can tell it's an array by the square brackets here and here too. It says, notice that there is a list of items to choose from here, but there are only 2 arrays. You can recognize the array by the square brackets and a drop-down arrow in front. You can also hover over the item to see its data type. So now they just want us to map all guests from the JSON module into the iterator in this little array column, right? So that's also a very simple task. We're just adding the iterator and putting the all guests array in the only column of the module. So let's click on the next slide to see what else they want us to do, so we can just kind of boom, 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 Next, you want the iterated data to be added as separate rows in a Google Sheet. Add the Google Sheets Add a Row module to your scenario and connect to your Google account. Map the previously set up Make Intermediate 1-2 spreadsheet and the Party Planner sheet. Under Values, select the items from the Iterator module, such as on the image here. Under Name, column A, map name. Under Dietary Restriction, B, map dietary restriction, or preference, sorry. Under Preferred Music, we're mapping preferred music. Click OK to save your mapping, and then save your scenario. All right, so now we can go to our scenario because this has a little bit more steps, but it's still very simple. We're just adding our Google Sheet module, putting the information from the recent spreadsheet that we just created inside, and in values, we're literally just mapping the same values as what's labeled there. So yeah, 3 things we're doing. We're putting the iterator module in the scenario. We're mapping the array from the parse JSON module that we put in, and then we're putting a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet module, and mapping our items from our Google Sheet. So let's go into our scenario and do that real quick. All we have here is our JSON module, add another module. Inside of flow control here, we have our iterator on the second one right here. And then in the array, we're gonna click in the field, and all we have to do is go into our all guests here. It says that we also have a parse JSON bundle here. It says allows you to map a whole output of a module. It seems like it's the same thing as what we're doing here. I'm not really sure, but I'm just gonna click on all guests to be safe. And now we have it mapped just like that, super easy. Save that. And then now all we're doing is adding our Google Sheet module, add a row. In spreadsheet ID, we're going to add our 1-2. Under that, we have our sheet name, which is the only one, Party Planner. And then in our values, we're going to map the 3 values from our iterator. So in A, we're gonna put names. In B, we're gonna put dietary restriction or preference. Oops. Just like that. And then in C, we're putting the music, preferred music, just like that. Super easy. Save it, and I'm gonna save the scenario. I'm gonna click next slide. Time to test your scenario. Click run once. Let's see what happens. Open the Make Intermediate spreadsheet you have previously set up to see what information you have there. It should look like the image here. All right, so if I go into our Google Sheet here, right now there is no information populated. Then if I go into our newly created scenario and click run once, we didn't get any errors, which is great. You can see that it took a little bit longer for the Google Sheet to finalize its process, but you can see why if I click the explain flow button here. You'll see that the the information from the JSON goes into the iterator, breaks apart, separates it, and then individually goes into the Google Sheet module and does whatever we mapped it to do there. So now if we go into our spreadsheet, you will see that we have all the information populated from the JSON module that we created. That's great. We did exactly what we were meant to do. We didn't get any errors, and the scenario worked out just how we wanted it to. So pretty useful stuff here. We're just learning about this iterator right now. So we're able to separate information that we get from whatever the source module is, and in this case we put it in a Google Sheet, but we could also put it in whatever else we need to put it in, right? So this is just an example of what we can do with iterators, and it seems pretty useful, but obviously we'll have to figure out how useful that is in the future. But yeah, great stuff. Notice that you have 3 separate rows added. Great job. You have successfully used an iterator in your scenario. So now I'm going to click next slide. That's it. Explain flow. To understand the flow of your data better, now would be a great time to use the explain flow button and see the journey your data takes. Yeah, so we just did that. One bundle of data equals food order or a set of invites, and iterated bundles of data equals an individual order of food / the information of one of the guests. So the array has a collection, or the array has multiple collections of information, but the iterator separates them and makes them into separate individual bundles instead of one collection or one array of multiple collections. So I'm going to click next. What about credits? Select each highlighted area to learn about the credits consumed in this scenario. All right, so we have a couple of bubbles we can click on. I'm going to click on the parse JSON one first. Cool. Awesome. Great. All right, so I guess the only one that, okay, now they're working. Okay, let's see. The first one, as you might remember from the previous units, the first module, JSON, will count as 1 credit. Remember, they used to be called operations. Now they're called credits. The first module in a scenario runs once, and it always counts as 1 credit, even if it does not return any bundles, right? First module in a scenario always consumes only 1 credit. The iterator module will consume only 1 credit in this example, no matter how many items there are in the array. You can see here that there were 3 items in the array, 3 bundles in the output, but the iterator still consumed only 1 credit. Now, why this is, I'm assuming it's because it's one of the tools. So like, I believe they told us that these kind of flow control tools and what other one? Also these tools, like the purple ones, I believe they said that these ones only count as 1 credit when you put them in the scenario. I may be wrong, but I remember them talking about certain modules only count as 1 credit, even if there's like multiple bundles. I might be wrong on that one, so bear with me, but we'll find out for sure. Yeah, but that's probably why this one only took 1 credit. And then we have our Google Sheets. The Google Sheet module here, and in general, any module that comes after the iterator will use as many credits as the number of items in the array. In this case, it consumes 3 credits. So however many bundles you create in a module following the source module or a tools module will count the credits of each bundle. So in this case, we made 3 bundles, or we iterated 3 bundles. And because of that, when we put the Google Sheet module and we ran the scenario, it consumed 3 credits. So I'm gonna click next, and that's the end of the unit. So it says, by now, you should know what an iterator is, some use cases where you can use an iterator, and how to use an iterator in a scenario. In the next unit, you will learn how to use the array aggregator. Yeah, good stuff. Today, iterators seem very useful. If you have like a large list of items or collections that you have in like a source module and you want to separate them and do like different things with them, you can use an iterator and make it so that each collection or item or array, whatever you're trying to iterate, is taken care of individually, and you can do whatever you want to do with those individual parts, right? Very useful information. Still trucking along in this academy. We are making very good progress. In the next video, I will be covering Unit 3, which is aggregating an array from bundles. So yeah, if you're looking forward to that, make sure to stay tuned for the next video. But till then, I think that's gonna be it from me. If you found any of this information interesting or you'd like to see more, please feel free to drop a like, comment your thoughts, or hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I'll see you in the next one.